Hello friends, welcome. Friends, just couple of days back I saw an article in the newspaper which talks about the impact of India's manufacturing competitiveness. And this is a report which was done by ICA, and that report is being referred, and the duty structure of India's imports, the products which we are importing, which goes into manufacturing of electronic products like mobile phones, their duty structure has been compared with other global competitors, major economies like Vietnam, China, and various other economies, and saying that India's duty structure is probably the highest in the world, and that is impacting our competitiveness. Now, friends, once when I saw this article, I got a little intrigued, and that led me to do some kind of analysis and introspection. So, before I take you through my analysis and whatever I could figure out after crunching the data, I will take you through the history of India's manufacturing. That would create a framework for this discussion. Otherwise, this discussion is not going to be useful. Now, the story of India's manufacturing can be pointed back in time with the phase manufacturing program. Those who are following the manufacturing space of India, especially the mobile phones, are well aware of this phase manufacturing program. So what is this phase manufacturing program? So the phase manufacturing program created a duty differential between the products which are manufactured in India and those which are imported, and that duty differential was led to incentive of manufacturing products in India. Now, since everything could not have been manufactured immediately, so they laid out a roadmap. So there is a roadmap which was laid out very clearly, and certain product was identified which would be forced to get manufactured in India, and then slowly the duty differential would further percolate down to other products as you move forward in time. So look at this table. So this article, which I wrote just on 25th August 2023, I am going to share the link in the description, and you can read through the article. I am not going through the article completely, but I am just giving a theme, what was there earlier. Now, what happened was that the duty differential structure could not be sustained because of impact of GST. Now, GST regime led to the integration of certain duty structure, and those structure was could not have been kept in the same manner which was envisaged at the time of phase manufacturing program. Therefore, with the GST regime coming in 2016, the whole thing had to be unwinded. So what happened was that then there was another major impact, incident which took place on 31st October 2019, which was India's loss in the WTO case, and all the existing schemes at that time, which was trying to give incentive to local manufacturing, was to be required to be unwinded because of the WTO loss. And new schemes were launched, and especially the PLI scheme. And everybody is aware of production linked subsidy, which is a scheme which was in alignment with WTO, because WTO did not find any problem with this scheme. So what was the purpose of the PLI scheme? The purpose of the PLI scheme is to provide subsidies of goods and products which are manufactured in India on a production basis, not linked with any kind of local value add or export promotion. Because export promotion or linking to the volume of items which are getting export from India, and local value addition is not allowed as far as the WTO rules are concerned. There is a violation in WTO rules, and therefore those were found in violation, and therefore they were prevented, and production scheme was allowed, and it was in alignment with WTO, and therefore we went into that particular path. Now, how the PLI scheme works? The PLI scheme basically works in a very simple manner. What it does is, it basically creates a duty differential of products which are manufactured, which you want to manufacture in India, in the same manner which you actually created the phase manufacturing program. The phase manufacturing program, there was a slight difference. In the phase manufacturing program, the differential was created because of the excise duty and the duty as far as the countervailing duty. So there are two different duties which were there, the excise duty and countervailing duty, and basic custom duty always acted as a cost, right? So this differential was created. However, when PLI program was announced, there was no other way to create that differential because of the GST regime came in, which I told you. So what they did was, now they created the differentiator by raising the basic custom duty. Now basic custom duty acted as a cost. Let's say if you are trying to import certain product from outside, which goes into as an input to manufacturing a mobile phone, and if the government of India wants those products, those inputs which are being imported from outside to be manufactured in India, it will raise the basic custom duty of those components. And rest of the components which can't be manufactured in India are kept at zero, because there is no point in raising the price or the duties of those components which can't be manufactured in India, right? So it's almost similar to the PMP program, except for the fact that there are certain subsidies which were given directly to the manufacturer in India, them meeting certain production linked criteria, and the basic custom duties were raised on those products which the Indian government wanted to be manufactured in India. So there also certain roadmap was drawn, and as the time progressed, the custom duties on other components or more valuable components which are required to be manufactured in India were raised. Now, it is very quite natural. Why would you give production link incentive to those companies who do not manufacture anything in India? Because if you are going to import everything from outside at zero duty and do some packaging and send it back to the world, right, for the purpose of and call those outflows as exports, then it does not make any sense. It is like, product in, product out without any value add. So what is that India is going to get out of this? There may be some increase in jobs, maybe some tinkering of or some investments which can just get in the country, but those will be very, very marginal. So that is why it was important to raise duties in order to create a barrier to those manufacturers who are seeking incentives from the government of India, not to just bring in products from outside, raw material from outside, or finished product, semi-finished product from outside, and just package them from in India and send them back to the world, right? So that was the whole purpose. Now, so this is the background of this discussion, right? I don't want to get into the details. I'm going to provide the link of this particular article. You go through this article and you will get a very good understanding what happened in past and what is going on now. So very, very clear description is there in this article. Now friends, what I did was I saw this report. This report is available. This is the ICA report which is available in the website. If you can go to this website, and I'll provide the link to this website. I found it in the website. Now in this report, what is the main logic and what is the main argument which is being discussed in this report? This report basically talks about that the cost of higher tariffs is impacting India's export competitiveness. And it goes on to describe the various economies of the world and how our export competitiveness and how our tariff structure is different from the world, right? So what I found in this report is that only one dimension is being measured, which is the tariff structure. But it does not give any kind of guideline as to which items the tariff structure should be low and which item the tariff structure would be high. Because as I told you, that it will be very naive for anybody to expect that every electronic components should be at 0% duty. Because if everything has to be in 0% duty, and when there is no way you can link any subsidies to local value add, because that is a violation of WTO's rules, and you can't even link to export promotions, means the amount of products that you are exporting from outside in value terms, the subsidies cannot be linked to that, then in what way you will be able to incentivize production in India? Let me ask this very simple question. If you make your duties zero, everybody will bring everything from zero duty and take the subsidy and go back and sell the product in the rest of the world. It is like, getting money, cash, or doing nothing, right? Because those employment and investments are going to be very marginal. If you are not going to add any values, your revenues that you are going to generate from India is going to be very marginal. and therefore your investments, which will be a proportion to the revenue that you will, because every revenue is nothing but local value add. Because whatever you are buying from outside and selling to the world, right, is not should be considered. Those are virtual revenues, because the top line, which suppose let's say my cost of inputs are 95 and my outflow is 100, then my differential value add is only 5, right? $5. So my investments are going to be proportional to that $5 only, right? If my differential is $30, right? My inputs, let's say my sale is $100 and my input cost is $70, then $30 is the differential value that I'm adding locally. So therefore my investments are going to be proportional to that value, right? My employment generation capabilities are also going to be proportional to that value. So I do not understand, it does not make any sense for giving any subsidy to anybody who does not generate value in India. That is the fundamental thing that we have to understand. And therefore, there is no other way for us, given the structure that we have, the WTO agreement that we have signed, though we can do some kind of tweaking, and we have already done. I am going to share a video with you where India is already arguing that there are certain items that they are well within their right to raise duties, though WTO rules basically does not allow those items, because they argue that India cannot raise duties on those items. But India is arguing vehemently in WTO that it has the right to raise duties in ITA items which they think that did not fall in the bracket of ITA at the time when the agreement was signed. So they are heavily dependent on increasing duty, otherwise the PLI policy is going to be broken down. Right? There is no need for giving any subsidy. If you are going to have everything zero duty, then let's get back to a system where no subsidy should be given at all. What is the purpose of giving a subsidy? Let me ask you this fundamental question. So having explained the logic of this whole discussion, let me go to the real data, because when I looked at this report, I didn't see any real data from the point of view of recommendation. Because what is important when you do a report, you have to give recommendation which items that you want the duty to be low and which items that you want the duty to be high. Because you can't basically argue saying that every item the duty should be low, right? Because that is in the violation of the whole concept of PLI policy. Okay, so let's look at the data now, because that is going to give us more insight as to what is going on. Now friends, what I did is I created this chart. And let me explain to you what this basically means. So what I did was, I went into the export-import website, and there, the Ministry of Commerce website, where import trends of items on an HS code basis is available. Means every item that you are importing from India or exporting from India to outside, importing to India and exporting from India to outside is being clearly quantified, and they are measuring the outflow as well as inflow in dollar terms as well as in quantity. So I extracted the data and I created a table, right, which I always do. So I'll explain to you what this table is doing. So this not only is measuring the trend of export and import of items of a particular HS code, but also there is one more column which I've added where I basically listed the duties, the custom duties. Now these duty numbers may not be accurate, but they are indicative, because these are old numbers I tried to extract from the website. Maybe some of the numbers might have changed, but these are quite fine, because these are indicative numbers. Okay, so these are basic custom duty numbers. So if you look at, there is HS code column here, and then there is one column which is basically giving the duties. So wherever there is zero duties, I have marked as green, right? And if the duty is more than zero, it is red. And here the description of that item is there, whatever is given in that particular website, because these description I am picking directly from the website, the Ministry of Commerce website. And then these are the trend in dollar value in $1 million. Okay. Now if you look at, so this is the first table is electronic items top 1 to 20 import export trend. So I've chosen import, I can choose export also from here, just like I always drill down menus. So let's do one simple calculation. So I am doing monthly trend, right? Now I can do quarterly trend, I can do yearly trend also. So if I do quarterly trend, so I'm basically zooming out, right? So the number of, the quantum of volumes are basically going to become higher. So it is going to adding 3 months. Because now since this Q3 FY24 is up to October, this quarter is not complete, so this value is looking less. Otherwise, the value of every quarter is of higher. Like every quarter, India is importing how much items? 20.5 billion dollars. Now, all these HS code that I have chosen for these calculations, these are mentioned in this report, so this is 120 HS codes which is mentioned in this report, which are the HS code items which are being targeted for this study. So I have only picked only those HS code in this particular table, not all HS code. So it's kind of constitute around 76% of the total electronic imports or the trade in India, right? 76%. 25% I have excluded because this is not mentioned in this report. So I picked up from this report. So now, if you look at this table, what you can do is I can basically do percentage of total also. Now, percentage of total gives us a very important indication as to which are the items, how much percentage of the total 120 items in dollar value is being exempted from duty. Let's do the calculation. So I just click here because this is zero duty, this is green, and the next item is this, then the next item is this, next item is this, next item is this, and next item is this. Okay, so it comes out to be 35%. So 35% of the total import value is zero duty in India, right? We are promoting 35% of the volume terms which are being imported for as an input to manufacturing of finished product like mobile phones as zero duty. So this is only from 1 to 20 items, right? Now if I go to the next table, the table 2, right, which actually is because there are 120 items as I told you. So 1 to 20, within 1 to 20, the total value comes out to be around 35% of the total imports. Now you can add further because these are very small items. So I'll add this further on a percentage term. So you will find that the total value will be roughly, this is another 4%. So already we had around how much? Initially we had around, was around 35%, another 4%, 39%. So roughly around 40 to 42% maybe, because as you go further, the total contribution of those items to the overall volume is going to be much less. So you remove those items, right? So I think it will be around 40 to 45% of the total volume of the items which are identified in the ICA report are being attracted 0% duty. Now, which are the items which attracts duties? Let's look at those items. Now, let me just do absolute value here and let's see. So the first item, let me do absolute value. The first item which is of, let me just do yearly trend. That will also give a very good idea. So since FY24 is not complete here, so you'll find that out of $44 billion, $7.1 billion are being imported as far as the integrated circuits are concerned. So there is no duty. The second important item is personal computers, right, which is around 3.5 billion. In the last year, financially, it was around 5.336 billion. Now, there is one question that I want to raise here. If zero duty is the only way to manufacture increase India's competitiveness, then why PC and mobile computers and desktop computers are not getting manufactured in India? Because these have been in zero duty for times of memory, and government has been struggling and pulling their hair to trying to bring those computer manufacturers in India. They are not able to do that, right? Because the domestic market of PCs and desktop computers are not at par with those of mobile phone. When we argue that the domestic market of India is not good enough, I do understand. From an export point of view, our market is pretty small. But the market for PCs and laptops is still smaller. So since our mobile phone market is much larger, we can actually leverage the Indian market from the point of view of pushing the manufacturers to manufacture in India. But we can't do so for PCs and desktop computers because the market is much smaller. So saying that the duty increase is a barrier to manufacturing in India, then the PCs and mobile and desktop computers should be manufactured in India with no problems at all, because it has been on zero duty from the very beginning. Why it is not getting manufactured? Let me ask you this question, right? So I don't think that this is the right way of making this conclusion. There are various other aspects which have to be compared. We can't simply blame duties alone as the only reason for India's lack of competitiveness. Yes, it is important to identify which components that we would like to manufacture in India and which components we would like to exclude from manufacturing in India. That is a much more reasonable discussion to have. But just making a very blanket point that duties cannot be raised and it is decreasing India's competitiveness in the world market, I don't think that is the right strategy or the right narrative to talk about. Because we as Indians, if we are spending so much amount of money, right, on production linked incentive, then it is better that we actually create some barriers. Otherwise, people will be just importing from outside and just manufacture, will do no value add in India. So I do not think that this is the right thing to do. I think that is why I was encouraged to do this video. What we need to do as much more, if you really want the efficiency of manufacturing in India to increase, is to do some introspection and to figure out that which items have already gained traction in India from the point of view of manufacturing and which item has not gained traction. Those items which we cannot manufacture, for example, I told you that ICs, monolithic integrated circuit ICs, right? Which we are importing such a huge volumes. Maybe we will not be able to manufacture. We are trying very hard to basically have fabs in India. We are not able to bring fabs. So how can you increase duties? It does not make any sense. And therefore, there could be some other items also, similar other items like memories, like $2 billion. There is no way we can raise duties of those items. Similarly, we should identify some other items where we cannot manufacture in India. And those items we should be focusing on bringing the duties down to zero, rather than basically making an argument that all items the duty should be zero, and because of that our India's competitiveness in the world market is decreasing. It does not make any sense. That narrative is not the right narrative to make, right? Because we are giving subsidy, we are paying the manufacturers from our own pocket, taxpayers' money, right? So therefore, it is. I thought that it is important to make this point. And the one last point which I would like to basically say here, that these are the line items which I picked up from the report, which are the finished products and the components and sub-assemblies to manufacture mobile phones. So if you look at this particular chart, you will find that as regards mobile phones are concerned, which are the items which are basically how much of the percentage of the total volumes are being zero duty. Let's look at those items, the finished products and components. So it is 15% here, and this is 6%, then with this, and then this, and this, and this, the green items I'm clicking. So it is roughly around 27.85% of the 26 HS code which I picked from the report, where the duty structure is being laid out, and some of the items the duty is high, like smartphone, etc. Anyway, we are not importing from we are not importing, we are exporting those items. So this is roughly around 27-30, around 30% you can say, right, of the component. So anyway, I would like to stop here. I don't want to go further in this video. I think you have got the point. So what the real narrative should be, rather than focusing on a blanket removal of duty for most of the items, we should have to identify the list of items where we want the duties to go down so as to increase India's competitiveness in the world market as far as manufacturing is concerned, right? But it is important to create a duty barrier, otherwise what will happen? Nobody will manufacture. The situation as far as India is concerned is different from the world. We cannot be comparing Vietnam, China as far as India is concerned. Our politics is different, our economic structure is different. We are in a different time as far as manufacturing is concerned. They are far ahead from us as far as manufacturing. We haven't focused on manufacturing earlier, right? Before the government came into power, came with the PLI scheme. We were doing manufacturing, but our manufacturing was in a very slow and steady, very mellowed down pace. Now the pace has increased. So let's understand where we are. And we cannot make any direct comparison with these economies, but we have to be very specific as per what is in our interest, India's interest. That's most important discussion to have rather than having a generic discussion. Okay, thank you friends for your time. I'll see you in the next video.